good job about everything. But I mean, let's get to the whole meat and potatoes of the whole weekend. The Winter Classic. My overall, just before we get into statistics and all that, my overall thought on the whole Winter Classic was amazing. I don't know if we could have done it any better. And it's one of those once-in-a-lifetime things. I might not ever get to go to another one. So that's why I took my chance on this one. It was forget it. We're getting tickets. We're going. I don't care. But for the first one, and they took a chance on St. Louis. We are now the quote-unquote furthest south to have a Winter Classic. But I don't put much into that because they've done the Stadium Series in LA, and it was 75 degrees outside for that game versus the Sharks. And I don't put a lot into it as being a factor of element. But we are now the furthest south to have a Winter Classic, which, like I said, doesn't compete much to the Stadium Series. But the Winter Classic, it's a beast. It's a big event. And I think by just hearing a lot of people talk, and I don't know if you kind of got the vibe from it, but hearing a lot of people talk, I don't think they realize it's as big as it actually is.
Yeah, I think with the issue is the Midwest. The Midwest is a funny place, just because everything that, especially pop culture, travels from, whether it is the East Coast or the West Coast, it travels inward to the Midwest.
Yeah.
So everything starts happening on the coast and it travels into the Midwest. So
no good trend ever starts in the Midwest.
Right. So you get all the West Coast and the East Coast. You get all these teams that have been doing Winter Classics and have been doing Stadium Series, and then it finally gets here to the Midwest, and I feel like it just that kind of, I don't know, small town attitude gets put into play.
I think it does to a point. I think you also, and I guess it's with any event maybe that is of bigger caliber.
But I think but also the attitude of some more humbler Cardinals fans, it kind of translates into Blues fans where they're paying attention to the Blues singular and not hockey.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's
because that's your team, and you're going to follow that team, and it's just like the NFL. There's 32 teams. I could give zero cares about maybe 30 of them. I have maybe one or two teams that I really pick to follow, and that's that. And even with the NFL, because hockey always comes first, and they're in the same season for me, don't pay attention to the NFL much. It's the same with the MLB. One or two teams I really care about, I maybe start paying attention to them around July. I feel like, to me, there's too much. To me, for following sports, baseball's too long. I can't get into it that much. I'll get burned out way too quick on it. Not an NBA fan, and NBA plays the same amount as the NHL. Football, I feel, is just too rammed down our throats, and it's too cultured now to where everybody knows about the NFL, and I can't go into a store without seeing an NFL this or an NFL that, sign or player on an advertisement or something. And I feel like it's just, even though it's only 16 weeks or 17 weeks plus playoffs, it's just so drawn out that I just can't get into it as much. But hockey, well, even though it is what I'm into, I feel like it's not too long, not too short. And I feel like that's why the NBA and NHL probably have the best set up schedules.
Yeah. I feel like football, to me, I loved it when I was younger, and now it's just it's just tired.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that's went into that over the last few years.
I do have to say this. One of the things that really got me into the Cardinals for a minute, and what really got me into the Blues was just the general attitude of the fans, and especially when you're in the stadium or you're somewhere watching the game with a bunch of other fans.
My St. Louis fans, like you had mentioned earlier, very humble people. Like it's more of a hometown kind of feeling. They accept you and yours. And I mean, we don't have to accept Blackhawk fans. They don't accept us in their building at all. But I mean, our hospitality is a little different than theirs. And I think that was something that was really on display too, just the hospitality overall. Thought it was great. I thought that goes for workers, everybody at the game. I think maybe one incident that I had ran into all weekend, and that was just because somebody didn't know really where he was supposed to be.
Oh, and that was a fellow Blues fan.
Yeah, and that was Let me say that was a fellow Blues fan who was 2 sections over and thought we were in his seats, but would put him in his place pretty quick.
Yeah, there was plenty of other people there that were in the right section that could not be wrong.
Yeah, right.
And so
especially ones I had seen on Saturday and sat there with.
Right,
so.
And so I was like, I'm pretty sure we're in the right section here. So, I mean, that got squashed pretty quick and was totally fine afterwards. Just kind of was a little too intense there.
It was a little too intense too quick because I wasn't. It was raining. I'm getting rained on. I wasn't ready for a confrontation.
There was no scale of escalation. Like it was like
0 to 10 real quick.
Like it was at 10. It didn't even start at 0. It was just 10 the whole way, and then bunch of other people chimed in and it's like, no, we're in the right section. You are actually in the wrong section, sir.
Yeah.
And then it got friendly real quick. So, I mean, it's cool. I forgive him.
Yeah, and I mean, at the same time, if that's all I had to deal with, it's a pretty decent weekend.
Yeah,
there was no one anywhere that I saw. There was no punches thrown. Well, unless you count Joel Edmondson punching that guy in the face. That was pretty nice. There was no punches thrown in the stands. It was nice, cordial. Everybody was pretty nice to each other. Even the Blackhawk fans we had to sit around weren't that bad.
Nothing.
Well, I mean, when it was 1-0, it kind of got pretty rowdy. But then when you tie it 1-1 and 2-1, they kind of shut up a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, the Blackhawks fans were, I mean, obviously outnumbered being here in St. Louis. But back to what I was saying earlier, like what really got me into St. Louis sports here was just the intensity at the game. After the Blues tied the game up, like it was not quiet.
No,
for the rest of the game, it was 48,000 people, or however many Busch Stadium holds. There's probably 50 in there.
Yeah,
breaking some fire codes.
I mean, there's buttholes and elbows in there. That's for sure.
So yeah, like it was. I mean, as somebody who's grown into being a Blues fan, it's a surreal feeling because I've felt like amazing experiences being in Scottrade, and only 18,000 people being that loud, and then then you get into a stadium to probably where there's, I don't even know how many Blackhawks fans there were, but 40,000 people being loud for 45 minutes.
I mean, Busch Stadium seats 44,000 people. And I would say there was probably 46,000 in there.
Well, yeah,
if at all possible.
yeah, like you got all the boxes, and then also like they have the standing only.
Yeah, like I mean, because I had just looked up here that Busch Stadium is 43,975. I will tell you.
I've been to games where there's been more than that, and they announce it.
Yeah, so I feel that there was way more than that there.
Yeah,
Especially because I mean they broke out extra seating and things like that in certain spots, but man, the game itself though, great game, and I will say that I was worried.
yeah.
Blues have not been playing that great,
and in complete honesty, like that is fair. They're consistently inconsistent,
yeah, they got something they had going for
and
them.
I think that's going to be the theme this season.
It has been all season. Theme is consistently inconsistent,
Yeah.
but mostly on the road. We can't play on the road. Was this a road game? No, but in a sense, yes. You're not playing in your building. You're not used to your locker room, your setup, everything like that. Now it is your fans that are around. It's a totally completely different monster.
We had one player on our team that played in an outdoor game.
Yeah, Carl Gunnarsson was the only one who played in an outdoor game, and he played, I think, was it 2012, 2013.
Yeah, with the Maple
he
Leafs.
played it was Maple Leafs and Red Wings. He played there, and I think that was at the Big House. It was Michigan Stadium. So yeah, he played in that one. So I mean, he played in one, and he I mean, he knew what to expect, but still, you can't prepare for a game like this outside. Right. You never know what's going to happen.
It's obscure because it's inconsistent. Like it's inconsistent by team.
And it really is. And I mean, the Blackhawks have been playing good lately, so you figure the Blackhawks are coming in. You know, they've played 3 of these now. So they're, this is the thing. And one thing I want to say that I never really liked the fact that the Blackhawks were in so many of these. But at the same time, I also kind of went back and did some research, and it's like saying, well, okay, we should stop telling I don't like the Blackhawks by any means. Don't get me wrong. I am a true Blues fan, and I just don't like the Blackhawks. And I don't like the Red Wings, and they're still not in our division. And I still kind of don't like them. But Chicago's playing in these games because other teams are refusing to. They're denying the chance to play in these games and or host them. So it's no fault to the Blackhawks. Like, they're doing it because, okay, this is cool, we're going to do it. And the Blackhawks are that hot team. Every year that they've played in one of these, they've been the hot team. They've won Stanley Cups. They've went to the playoffs. They've never played it and not made a difference in the league. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it was a bad game, but Pittsburgh versus Buffalo isn't bigger than St. Louis versus Chicago. It's just not. To me, it's not a rivalry. To me, it's not two teams that were in the league, that were on the same tier in the league. I can even say that with Detroit and Toronto that year that Gunnarsson played with them. Toronto had been down for so long. Although that is a rivalry, Detroit was on top of that. Detroit was up in the league. Detroit had been down in the league. It's not it's a rivalry, but is it a meaningful rivalry at that time? And I don't think they could have done it better this year by choosing a rivalry that actually means something. Right now, the Blues needed 2 points. The Blues needed to get 2 points. Not only that, they needed to get 2 points against the Blackhawks, who are leading.
Right. And especially with Minnesota being on fire for the last month.
Yeah, I mean, we needed that win. And the win, it came, I mean, I won't say it came unlikely, because Blues, after the first period, it was their game.
Yeah, anything, it's especially with the Blues being very inconsistent, it's scary. Especially playing a rivalry game like that. And as big of a game as that is, like, I mean, I don't know if, like, just because it was at Busch Stadium and there was double, possibly triple